Download this code from codegive.com, link in the description below. OK, let's dive into creating area move triggers in game development. This tutorial will provide a comprehensive, step-by-step guide with code examples, covering various aspects and considerations for implementing them effectively. We'll use C with Unity as the primary example, but the principles apply to other game engines with minor adjustments to the specific API calls. What is an area move trigger? An area move trigger is a game object that defines a spatial region in your game world. When another object, typically the player character, enters this region, it triggers a specific action or behavior. It's a fundamental tool for scripting interactions based on location. Common use cases include scene transitions, loading a new level or area when the player enters a doorway. Dialogue triggers, starting a conversation with an NPC when the player approaches them. Gameplay events, activating a trap, spawning enemies, or granting a power-up when the player reaches a particular spot. Changing game state, modifying the environment, example turning on lights, playing music, or enabling/disabling features based on the player's location. Step 1. Setting up the project, Unity. 1. Create a new Unity project, open Unity Hub and create a new 3D project. 2. Create a player, add a 3D object representing your player to the scene, example a cube or capsule. Add a character controller component to it, or a rigid body-based movement script if you prefer. You'll also need a script for basic player movement, see example below. 3. Create a trigger area, create a new 3D object, example cube, to represent the trigger area. Scale it to the desired size and position it where you want the trigger to be active. Step 2. Configuring the trigger area. 1. Add a collider, the trigger area must have a collider component. In the inspector for the trigger object, add a box collider, sphere collider, or mesh collider, depending on the shape you need. For a simple doorway, a box collider is usually sufficient. To enable trigger in the collider components settings, check the trigger box. This is crucial. When trigger is enabled, the collider will not act as a solid object but will instead detect when other colliders enter or exit its bounds. 3. Add a script, create a new C script named something like area move trigger, or whatever is descriptive for the action it performs. Attach this script to the trigger area game object. Step 3. Writing the C script, area move trigger.cs. Explanation of the code using Unity Engine, imports the Unity Engine namespace, giving you access to core Unity classes and functions. Public class area move trigger, mono behavior, defines the script class, inheriting from mono behavior to allow it to be attached to a game object. Header, configuration, this creates a visual section in the inspector to group related variables. Good for organization. Public string target scene name, stores the name of the scene to load when the trigger is activated. Make this public so you can easily set it in the inspector. Public vector 3 target position, stores the position to teleport the target, usually the player. Public bool teleport player, controls whether we teleport or load a new scene. Public bool use delay, indicates whether the trigger action should be delayed. Public float delay time, specifies the delay duration in seconds. Public bool destroy on enter, a boolean that, if true, destroys the trigger object after it's triggered. This can be useful for one-time events. Header, optional effects, creates a section in the inspector for effects. Public game object effect prefab, stores a reference to a game object prefab, Example: a particle system, that will be instantiated when the trigger is activated. Asterisk public audio clip sound effect, stores a reference to an audio clip that will be played when the trigger is activated. Asterisk private bool underscore is triggered equals false, a private Boolean variable to track whether the trigger has already been activated. This prevents multiple activations if the player stays in the trigger area. Asterisk private float underscore trigger timer equals 0.0f, a private float to keep track of the delay timer. Asterisk public string triggering tag equals player, a public string variable that stores the tag of the game object that should trigger the event, defaults to player. Using tags provides a flexible way to control which objects activate the trigger. Asterisk on trigger enter, collider other, this is a built-in Unity function that is automatically called when another collider enters the trigger area. The other parameter provides a reference to the collider that entered. Asterisk if, other.compare tag, triggering tag, and underscore is triggered, this is the core logic. Asterisk other.compare tag, triggering tag, checks if the game object that entered the trigger has the tag specified in the triggering tag variable, example player. This is a very important check to prevent unintended triggers. Asterisk, underscore is triggered, ensures the trigger hasn't already been activated. Asterisk underscore is triggered equals true, sets the underscore is triggered flag to true to prevent further activations. Asterisk debug.log, logs a message to the Unity console for debugging. Asterisk instantiate, effect prefab, if effect prefab is assigned, creates a new instance of that prefab at the trigger's position. Asterisk audio source.play clip at point, sound effect, if sound effect is assigned, plays the audio clip at the trigger's position. Asterisk handle trigger action, other.game object, calls the function that performs the actual action. Asterisk update. Asterisk if, underscore is triggered and use delay, checks if the trigger is activated and delay is active. Asterisk underscore trigger timer plus equals time.delta time, update the timer. Asterisk if, underscore trigger timer equals delay time, check if the delay is complete. Asterisk handle trigger action, other.game object, calls the function that performs the actual action. Asterisk handle trigger action, game object target. Asterisk if, teleport player, check if player is teleported. Asterisk target.transform.position equals target position, sets the player position to target position. Asterisk else, load the scene. Asterisk Unity engine.scene management.scene manager.load scene, target scene name, loads the scene specified by target scene name. Make sure you've added the scene to your build settings, file-build settings. Asterisk if, destroy on enter, if destroy on enter is true, the trigger object is destroyed. Asterisk else, reset trigger. Asterisk underscore is triggered equals false, reset trigger. Step 4, setting up the area move trigger in Unity. 1. Select the trigger object asterisk in the Unity editor, select the game object that represents your trigger area. 2. Inspector configuration asterisk in the inspector window, locate the area move trigger script. Asterisk target scene name, enter the name of the scene you want to load when the player enters the trigger area. Make sure the scene is added to the build settings. Asterisk target position, enter the position you want to teleport the target to. Asterisk triggering tag, ensure this is set to the tag of your player game object, the default is player. If your player doesn't have a tag, add one in the inspector. Asterisk effect prefab, if you have a visual effect, example a particle system, drag the prefab into the slot. You can create a simple particle system by right-clicking in the project window -create-particle system. Asterisk sound effect, if you have an audio clip, drag it into the slot. Step 5, Player Movement Script, example. To test the trigger, you'll need a simple player movement script. Create a new C script called player movement and attach it to your player game object. Explanation of player movement asterisk. Asterisk This script moves the player using the character controller component, which handles collision detection automatically. Asterisk input.getAxis, horizontal, and input.getAxis, vertical, read input from the keyboard, WASD or arrow keys. Asterisk The move direction vector is calculated based on the input and normalized to prevent faster movement diagonally. Asterisk Time.delta Time ensures movement is consistent regardless of frame rate. Step 6, Testing. 1. Ensure scenes are in build settings. Asterisk Go to File-Build Settings and make sure that the scene you're currently working on and the target scene name scene are added to the scenes in build list. If not, drag them from the project window into the list. 2. Play the game. Asterisk Press the play button in the Unity editor. 3. Move the player. Asterisk Use the WASD or arrow keys to move the player character into the trigger area. 4. Observe the result. Asterisk. Asterisk If teleport player is true, the player should teleport to the target position. Asterisk If teleport player is false, the game should load the scene specified in target scene name. Asterisk You should see a message in the Unity console indicating that the trigger was activated. You should also see any visual or audio effects you configured. Additional considerations and improvements. Asterisk. Asterisk Multiple triggers. Asterisk You can have multiple area move trigger scripts in your scene. Make sure each trigger is configured correctly with its own target scene name and target position. Asterisk Parameter passing. Asterisk If you're loading a new scene, you might want to pass data to that scene, example the player's health, score, etc. You can do this using a static variable, a singleton pattern, or a more complex data management system. Asterisk Fading/transition effects. Asterisk To make scene transitions smoother, you can add a fade-in/fade out effect. There are many assets on the Unity Asset Store that provide these effects, or you can create your own using a UI image and an animation. Asterisk Specific object types. Asterisk Instead of using tags, you could check for a specific component type on the entering object. Asterisk Performance. Asterisk If you have many triggers in your scene, consider using object pooling to avoid excessive instantiation and destruction of game objects. Asterisk Editor Tools. Asterisk For more complex trigger systems, consider creating custom editor tools to make it easier to configure and visualize your triggers directly in the Unity editor. This can significantly improve your workflow. Asterisk Using interfaces. Asterisk If you want other components besides the player to use this trigger, you could create an interface like iTriggerable. Any class implementing this would need a method to be called when triggered. The trigger script would then get the component of type iTriggerable. Asterisk Layers. Asterisk If you need more granular control over which objects trigger events, you can configure the collision matrix in Unity's physics settings, edit-project settings-physics. This allows you to specify which layers can collide with each other and generate trigger events. Asterisk Optimization. Asterisk If you have a large number of triggers, especially in a large open world, consider using spatial partitioning techniques like quad trees or octrees to optimize the trigger detection process. This can significantly improve performance by reducing the number of collision checks that need to be performed. Example, passing data between scenes. Create a static class to hold data. Before loading the scene, set the values. Then retrieve the information in the target scene. This tutorial provides a solid foundation for understanding and implementing area move triggers in your games. Remember to adapt and expand upon these principles to create unique and engaging gameplay experiences. Good luck.